will be equivalent to the gold rush in the US. So here we are to understand the opportunities and the possibilities. We have eminent speakers who are here to give us the perspective on the whole matter. And without wasting much of your time, I would invite FICCI Chairman for Infrastructure Committee and the Business Chairman Urban and Transport, GMR Group, to please deliver the formal welcome address. Mr. B.V.N. Rao, please.
Good morning, all.
So I would just like to intervene for 1 minute in between. Mr. A.K. Sachin, the Managing Director of Dedicated Freight Corridor, will join in about 15 minutes. And also, in all likelihood, Mr. Achal Khare, who has an early morning meeting, who is the Managing Director of High Speed Rail Corp, will join around 12:15, 12:30. This is just to set the context, and then I hand over to the Chairman. Mr. Rao, the floor is yours. Did we lose him?
Yeah, I don't see it, Nirja. I don't see him on the list.
So in that case, before he comes back, Sandeep, you can do the formal welcome, or I can invite Arnend ji to set the context, and while he comes in, he joins in a bit later. Arnend ji?
Sir, you are on mute. Arvind ji, you are on mute, sir.
Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very appropriate time that we are having this railways webinar, because generally there is all a moment of a mood of gloom because of the whole world passing through a phase which had never been expected in our lifetime. We used to hear of 1919 stories. We used to hear of Surat plague, but here the whole world is facing it. Railway being the prime mover of GDP in the country and treats both rich and poor together. We have a very pivotal role in handling this crisis and in seeing to it that we sail through this difficult moment. The problems also give rise to opportunities. And the opportunity is that the ease of business index now needs to be revisited. Revisit in the sense that, just a minute, please. Revisit in the sense that whatever was holding back should now be reconsidered in view of the new alignments, new circumstances. The first thing is that we must be clear as to what we have to do. And this calls for a situation in which we must relook at the rail budget. Because rail budget is a document which everyone refers to internally as also externally, where the railway is going to spend its money. And if that itself is under doubt, then the issue comes, how do you decide which is going to come? Because there have been various announcements that no new project will be undertaken. What is the definition of a new project? And so on and so forth. Similarly, there are a lot of prior commitments of repayments of loans, contracts like Alstom and Marora for GE and Madhepura. Payments have to be made, similar types of payments, because the scenario of not paying them becomes quite difficult. So a rail budget, a fresh look needs to be there, because there has to be clarity down the organization. Second part is that we should take our new projects to fruition, and the simplest at the moment, and I have both stalwarts of DFCCIL, they must commission this as early as they can and release a lot of freight space in the conventional rail system, both from GNPT and also on the coal carrying route. How fast they can do, because segmental approach that if you do only one portion, it may have a very
Even I am
localized.
sorry, some problem on the internet. Suddenly it was down, power has gone. I am very sorry, my apologies.
No problem. I've just continued, then you can take over. I'll finish my address.
Okay, sir, please.
So this dedicated freight corridor must be operationalized to release the space, especially in the congested sector of Delhi, Calcutta and Delhi, Mumbai. There are green shoots coming up, double stack containers moving and a lot of works being completed. And that's a very big sign. And speeds on this dedicated freight corridor, because of long sections of 50 kilometers minimum, it will provide a fillip to movement of freight stock. These two things are very crucial. And coming to slightly nitty-gritty of the whole thing, if you have to make the internal customers like MSMEs and other people happier, then the issue will be that we must do away with the situation of that every component we buy, the Indian Railways buy, is inspected by rights. Though there have been previous capability assessments and so much of checks already done by Indian Railways to all this so-called various stages of approval in RDSO manufacturers. And so a stage has come that the inspection, like a diesel loco turned out by Mr. Salad is not. Similarly, we have a work in test certificate kind of situation. What I'm suggesting is that the delay, and that will ease a lot of cash flow for the system if that kind of inspections are withdrawn. And the responsibility rests with the supplier. They must know that if they don't supply goods which are vital, then and in correct format, then they are liable to be thrown out of the system. And recently we have had this advertisements of private train being operationalized. We have to wait and watch, because the passenger segment as such is a losing segment for Indian Railways. And if Indian Railways cannot make money and you expect a private operator to make money and operate, it's a tall order. It's possible in some route you can jack up the prices, but the price of airfare is also quite low. So why should we must look at transportation not as railways or air. We must say that if the cost of moving a person from station A to station B is so much, by rail is so much, by air is so much, and the investment should not take care of that kind of thing. So with these ideas in my mind, I'll give it back to Nirja to carry it forward.
Thank you, Arunji, for the context setting. We will reverse the order. After this beautiful context setting, we'll go back to Mr. BVN Rao to welcome the audience, our speakers who are there with us today. Mr. Rao, please. Mr. BVN Rao? I think we lost him again. So in that case...
There, so somebody
you're
muted.
there? So please.
Yeah, BVN.
Sure.
Very good morning. A warm welcome to this webinar on opportunities in Indian Railways, fostering infrastructure future. I welcome Mr. Arunendra Kumar, Advisor Railways, FICCI Transportation Infrastructure, President Rail and Urban Transportation, JBM Group, former Chairman of Railway Board, Ministry of Railways. Mr. L.C. Trivedi, General Manager, East Central Railways and Northeastern Railways, Indian Railways. Mr. A.K. Sachan, Managing Director, Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation, India Limited. Mr. Shashindra Mohan Sharma, Group General Manager, Mechanical, DFCC. Mr. Achal Khare, Managing Director, National High Speed Rail Corporation Limited. Mr. Sandeep Salat, Co-Chairman, Railways, FICCI Transportation Committee, Managing Director, GE Diesel Locomotives, and Chief Commercial Officer, South Asia and Southeast Asia, GE Transportation. Mr. L.S. Patil, Executive Chairman, Patil Rail, and Mr. Jagannarayan and Padmanabhan, our moderators for today's event, senior industry leaders and diplomats who have joined us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Indian Railways has done a remarkable job and are clear example of turning crisis into opportunities. Over the last few months, Indian Railways has successfully executed more than 200 long pending maintenance works, with regular passenger train services being suspended due to COVID-19. This is a problem converted into opportunity. This included repair and regrinding of old bridges, electrification, doubling of rail lines, among others. The developments present enormous opportunities for private sector participation. Ministry of Railways is also encouraging this via inviting requests for qualifications for the operation of passenger train services over 109 origin and destination pairs of routes through the induction of 151 modern trains. The project aims to generate an investment of about Indian rupees 30,000 crores from private industry and will clearly be the game changer for the industry. Under the Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan, which was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister of India to provide livelihood opportunities to migrant workers amidst of this pandemic, our Indian Railways across 116 districts of 6 states plans to generate 8 lakh man-days employment till October 31st, 2020. It is my privilege to highlight that in some of the districts, work in this regard has already begun. FICCI has been working very closely with the industry and has presented multiple recommendations to Ministry of Railways. Some of them includes measures to double freight on railways and promoting short distance cargo movement through railways to help decongest cargo clutter and at ports. You may please add basis your expertise during our deliberations. Coming to today's interaction, I am pleased to share that today's interaction has participation from IR-related organizations, Indian Railways-related organizations, private rail operators, rail tourism and catering organizations, technology providers, equipment manufacturers and suppliers, including EPC contractors, logistic firms, among others. I look forward to an engaging and interactive session today. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. I pass on the baton to session moderator, Mr. Jagannathan Padmanabhan. Over to Mr. Padmanabhan. Thank you all.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thanks, Mr. Rao, for bringing me into the session, and Mr. Arunendra Kumar for setting the context excellent and beautifully. And just to add, from what we are looking at currently is the investments and what is the kind of sectoral participation from the private side that can happen into the railways. It couldn't be much more apt this session, and I'm quite happy to have really stalwarts in the respective subsector areas of operations in the Indian Railways. So a warm welcome to one and all, and also thanks to FICCI for organizing this. I would like to just start in with respect to a positive note, because in today's context of everybody talking about doom, gloom, and what is happening into this sector, everybody is aware of that to an extent. What can be positively be looking at, which we should be seeing things on that context. To bring in that perspective and with respect to the private sector participation, let me start with Mr. Rao in terms of the newly announced opening up the private sector participation for the rail routes, which is there on the passenger segment. Arunendra Kumar did touch upon it in his opening remarks, but with the platform and where Rao is in terms of both from the private sector and also from the FICCI part of it having a double hat, I'm sure he'll be able to give a wholesome view about this particular opportunity and what does it entail for people who are into this. Mr. Rao, can you give the expectation from Indian Railways is that close to 20,000 odd crore investments will be happening from the private sector, and close to about 10 odd OD pairs has got identified. Over to you, Mr. Rao, to give your perspective on this. You're on mute, sir.
Automatically, I think, even when someone is speaking. It's okay. Thank you. I'm audible, sir?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
You are.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. I think there is a lot of lull, or there is a lot of activity in the media as well as among many stakeholders that this passenger train privatization is going to be a big debate. There are initial very nascent time it is. So there are some initial discussions with various stakeholders, but while the government of India's or Indian Railways effort to privatize whether it is freight corridor or whether it is train operations, definitely yes, there will be a sea change and the service levels definitely will go through a game-changing philosophy, because many domestic as well as international players, either directly or through partnerships, will show a great interest in this process. But some of the sessions for the success of this initiative through deliberations, one is this non-discretionary access to be provided to private party in all these routes, whatever they are considering. That is one session came up in one of the point where it will increase the enthusiasm as well as success of the financial model. As I heard just when I stepped in after disconnecting and reconnecting, our colleague was also talking about Arnendraji talking about Indian Railways is losing heavily on the passenger traffic and expecting private players to make money or invest in such a large, it is a capital intensive projects. Yes, definitely yes. Then all the stakeholders, especially Indian Railways and Government of India, whether it is Niti Aayog, which drives many of the privatizations, they should look into it, how we can make them happen. Otherwise, unless there is no profit, nobody will invest. There are many private services throughout the world. There are certain learnings, but yes, most of the railways are publicly run railways. So passenger train, we can see our own metro experience also, that it is only public transport, public companies can do that because it is a loss incurring. But we can always make them happen. How it can be done? It is a combination of passenger plus freight, or these models have to be explored. And this Indian Railways must evolve a mechanism to sort out all the day-to-day operational challenges also in operating these routes along with the private party. Because always when there is a Indian Railways trains is there, private trains are there. Then always a tendency, because the operations, signaling, everything is with the government. There is a tendency that prioritization may change, but by process and SOPs, I think we can definitely do that. And also all network congestion issues to be dealt by IR only, because it is a combination of composite activities. And any delay caused to this train operated by private parties to be at the risk and cost of the operator. If it is Indian Railways, the Indian Railways, or if it is a private operator in due course when operations are free. And also the fares should be market driven and in a band, because that is all come out of the financial modeling, how these things. Another suggestion has come up in the deliberations of the stakeholders is the regulator, whenever there is a privatization model, of course, with even government also, there is a different type of regulators like CAG and other models are there. But when a train privatization happens, appropriate regulator has to be formed at the beginning of this privatization model itself. Because many of we have experience, especially if I see power or airports or some of these privatizations, the privatization exercise has gone into it, bidding has done, concession agreements were signed. Then after a long time as in learning, regulators have come in. Though there is a provisions that the regulator should honor whatever has been happened before their existence has come in, but always there is a tussle between the regulator and the concession agreement implementation, because lot of reading in between lines. These things are there. Many litigations are there. So regulator should be in the place before start of any privatization, and also the fair return should be fixed at the beginning of the concession or bidding process. It can be a band. If it is an efficient operator, he can earn more. If it is an efficient operator, he can earn less. But there should be a guaranteed return in the model, because it is a concession driven. Lot of framework is defined and so this. Then another suggestion is some of the international operators also suggested a credit guarantee based sovereign should be in place in case like a rolling stock has to be done, as a supplier's credit is extended by this equipment manufacturers. Some of these suggestions have come up during the deliberations. And moreover, there should be a provision. There should be a provision to protect certain costs. Then only this privatization will succeed. It will be a successful event. These are my broad thoughts, suggestions to Indian Railway to take into consideration from the investors and various international players.
Sure. Thank you. I think that's quite useful. Some of the points that you mentioned is quite unique as well. Credit guarantee being one of it. And in terms of the guaranteed return, it is already prevalent in the airport sector to at least have a base minimum of guarantee, at least on the fare box part of it, can certainly be looked at. Many thanks for those interesting comments. Talking about the investments, right? At the end of the day, be forward-looking. We need a lot more investments to be happening from conservative estimates, and also if you look at the national infrastructure pipeline, it's estimated that close to 12 lakh crore is the kind of investments which is needed for the next 5 years in railways alone. And to put the number in perspective, we are currently, that is, railways is currently investing close to 1.1 to 1.2 lakh crore per year. So there by itself is a kind of a shortfall of about 50% of investment which is needed. And even if you were to further look at this 1.3 lakh crore which is getting invested, only 7% is coming from internal resources. That means the rest 93% is either coming from the gross budgetary support or the extra budgetary resources. That is, they go into the market and tap in like through IRFC and other part of it. So I want to get in Mr. Arunendra Kumar into this discussion in terms of the financing part of it, which also he talked about in his initial context setting part. In what are the sources now that is available? Because on one side, you have a huge need for investments to be done. On the other side, there is challenges in terms of the additional data point. Also today, there is in the press, there is about a talk of about 35,000 crores being lost just on the passenger segment. So that is the kind of, it's like a devil in the deep sea. but investments need to happen. So over to you, sir, to just kind of give a view of what are the other things available within railways to make these investments happen. Yeah.
First, thank you very much, Jagan. Just let me continue what the President started on the train operator. I'd like to just make one comment on that, which is that if a good thing is taken away, which was money earner for the railways by a private player, and then you expect Indian Railways to fund everything, the risks of the private player, then somebody has to think as to how to make the Indian Railways survive. The freight operations are paying. One argument can be that the loss making is hived off to somebody else, and once you get the one profitable business with you, perhaps things may improve. So this is a big question mark which will keep on coming. Number one. Number two, as regards to investments on the railway side, today also we are doing very heavy borrowing through IRFC. The PPP model which we have wanted to do has not come out that well. It has a railway version of the PPP model in which we have a long contracts, and those two big models which are always cited are the loco country, loco factories, and where the investor is doing a long investment with a guaranteed payment situation. It is not that the risks have been shared. There is no risk involved if you maintain the normal flow of events, meaning that you produce in time, you get paid in time, and you maintain your reliability, then it's all very good. So if PPP works out, then very good. Then the station development area is another thing which we have been talking for quite some time, that it can generate revenue the way it has done in various places abroad. But the type of investments of 12 lakh crore and which we have in NIP is quite a big and huge sum. And India needs connectivity of rail because of very cheap Delhi Ghaziabad. By simplest cost is 5 rupees by the ordinary ticket distance of 20 kilometers. The subminimum, the metro charge is 60 rupees. To that only to Vaishali, not inside Ghaziabad. So if the fares cannot have to be then they are driven market driven. If they can be market driven for private players, why not they can be for the Indian Railways to generate revenue? So this is a big question which will keep on coming back. But all said and done, if you see the last 5-year record, the Indian Railway has been getting more money, and we have been commissioning. The railways have been commissioning more projects, and they have connected the northeast capitals already. The high-speed corridor is there. It is slowly going because of the delay in the COVID. Otherwise, it was very much on track, and I think will come back on track. DFC is ready for fusion. So all these things, when they come out, then perhaps the need may not be so compelling from outside generation, but these efforts are very important. And if you succeed in one place, then success never stops. It brings so many people there that you should have to just wait and watch and see the things happening. But railway is very challenging, primarily because we are not driven by market rates, and sometimes our rates are very high on the passenger side. Of freight also is very high. The costs cannot be controlled like in the private sector, because whatever is outgo on the staff cost, talking of pensions being very high, all this is linked to the national policy. And since railway has a separate budget, so we get singled out for very high expenses. That is a normal kind of expense in the government side. If you do the whole pension budget of the country, we are nowhere there. But that gets singled out. So similarly, the payments for government staff. So what I'm trying to say that the expenditure is constant. The only way it has been cut down is by reducing the number of people required. The vacancies, we were 18 lakh when I joined. When I retired, we were about 13 and a half, and today it is 11 and a half. There has been a constant effort in that direction also. Railway is aware, but still, Jagan, this money is so huge that we have to, why are we going for privatization? Because we don't have the money and we want somebody else to come and run. And when somebody else comes and run, he has his own conditions, and you have to shell out something from yourself and give it to him. Then only he can make money for himself and then get some money to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I think that's quite, you're right. it has to be a more inclusive approach, get in more private sector, and kind of even in a way relook at what are the opportunity areas in which investments needs to be done. I think one of the other aspects probably is to revisit some of the projects which has been done, because is there still a need for all of that to happen? Just out of in a different manner, Google is saying that till July 2021, nobody needs to go into the office to work. Then the whole demand part of it from a passenger, then how does it look? All of that will start coming into it. But points of yours is quite enriching. I just want to move into Mr. Trivedi now, because in terms of getting more granular, we have now talked about at the high level of few lakh crore. Now, if we have to look into the opportunities which is there, one of the ones is on the electrification. There is a fair amount of talk, and the minister kind of has multiple times called out that this will be an area where full electrification will happen, and associated parts which is there. So from an Indian Railways perspective and from the East Central Railways and Northeastern Railways, what do you think are the opportunities which are there? The other one associated question also I would like Mr. Trivedi to please pick it up is many of the participants have asked that how do they keep track of the various projects which gets announced for them to bid for it. So probably both of it, if you can just take it up in terms of what are the opportunities in terms of the electrification, and in general, how do people get to know, entrepreneurs get to know about the opportunities which comes up in the railway sector, and what's the best way to look at it. Over to you, to Mr. Trivedi. You're on mute just now. Yeah. You are still on mute, sir. You have to unmute. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes.
So thanks to FICCI for organizing this symposium. As regards electrification, one thing I would tell you what Mr. Arunad Kumar said, that there is some efforts have been made on the staff front. Last year's budget, Indian Railways spent around 35,000 crore rupees towards cost of diesel or electricity for hauling its traffic. And you will be surprised, on ECR, I spent 2,000 crore rupees on energy, diesel plus electric, while I moved my 80% traffic on electric traction. I spent 800 crore rupees, and for moving remaining 20% of my traffic, I had to purchase HSD oil worth 1,200 crores of rupees. Energy bill of Indian Railways, which is hovering around 35,000 crore rupees, can be easily brought down to 15,000 crore. That means there is a clear saving of almost $3 to $4 billion in energy cost if we are able to run all the traffic on electric traction. So, and as regards the funding part of electrification, in my view, out of all the projects which Indian Railways is taking, whether it is multi-track doubling, new terminals, or you talk of rolling stock, any area, the one thing which is sure to give returns is the going for electrification. You know that even in fact, this year, because I had to prune my expenditure, the one thing which I did was to go for extensive electrification, and as a result, my expenditure this year is 10% less than last year, and this has been mainly achieved only because I didn't have to pay for the HSD oil. Now coming to the opportunities arising out of it, some few major decisions. In fact, Honorable Minister of Railway was somehow feeling that railways move in a very closed space and outsiders do not get to know, as you have also mentioned, the opportunities existing on the railways, in the railways sector. So
Excuse me.
Hello. So what we have done is that now we are gradually we are shifting all our procurement process to GEM. So now earlier we were all the procurement action which were taking place on Indian Railways were through IREPS, Indian Railway e-procurement system, which some people were not familiar and some people were not comfortable with it. GEM is an open platform. So now the instructions have come from ministry that we have to switch over all our procurement, including services, to GEM. So once the and since GEM is an open platform, any supplier, any but he wants to do business with the railways, it will now become almost essential for him to register himself on GEM. GEM, I hope you know, it's a government e-procurement portal. So for which there are no conditions to join GEM. You have also raised the subject of other opportunities. Now, when you come to budget, now today we are not in the old days where we were mainly dependent on the budget of the Indian Railways. Today we have many JVs. We have JVs with IRCON for setting up of coal corridors in Jharkhand and in Chhattisgarh. In Chhattisgarh, we were having East-West corridor. I was director as a divisional railway manager, Bilaspur, of one of those companies. So apart from the main railway sector, as you have mentioned about this regional transport system and the state JVs and the port, like port railways, Pipavav Port Railway, Kandla, there is some activities there. And at many places, these JVs are coming up. So anybody who is wishing to supply equipment, services, or wants to set up infrastructure for railways, there are multiple opportunities. And the procurement processes, at least on the Indian Railways, are absolutely transparent. All the tenders are displayed. So only thing, one for some specialized items, like you had mentioned earlier, that the transformers for the electrification or any other electrical equipment, signaling equipment, you need to register for specialized equipment with RDSO. The RDSO for general services, there is no need of registration. For specialized equipments, we normally go for, which are related to safety of the railways, we only go for equipments or supply vendors who are registered with RDSO. Even that process is going for a change. Earlier, there used to be only, there were many items registered with RDSO where there used to be only one vendor or two vendors. Now we have received instructions that even for specialized items, there should be at least 4 or 5 vendors. And this push for Atmanirbhar Bharat. So now even in our tenders, you must have read in the newspapers, etc. There is an indirect support being given to the Indian industry to participate in the tenders of the government.
Sure.
So I hope there are a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thanks for that. Clearly laying out what are the kind of opportunities available, and also kudos to you for having saved a significant amount of money in terms of the part on electrification. Also, now we have been joined by the MD of DFCCIL. Sir, welcome to the webinar. Pleasure to have you out here. And I think I'll get you into the mix straight away because in a way what you are doing is in quite a limelight in terms of the need for the railways in terms of the freight, because we talked about passenger just before you joined, and it's logical that we move into the freight segment, and really all eyes is on DFCCIL to kind of transform the way freight transportation is going to happen in India and claw back what was the lost share to the road sector coming back into the railways. So over to you to give your views about how you see this happening and the overall plans for DFCCIL as well.
So thank you so much, FICCI, for giving me this opportunity. I think I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you, Nirja. You were really pursuing me to join this, and I'm extremely sorry.
So glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm extremely sorry that I'm joining a little late, about half an hour. The reason is that today, Vice Chairman Niti Aayog, he wanted to see the section from Khurja to Dadri, which is in progress. So I had to take them, Chairman Railway Board and VC Niti Aayog. And I just can share his version about dedicated freight corridor. He said it is the most important infrastructure project in India as on date, and we should have many, many more dedicated freight corridor. So a lot of discussions have taken place, but I will limit myself to whatever I have been told about the great project. So to start with, I will say that I don't know whether it has been discussed or no, that India in the global market is not able to compete because we have a very, very high logistic costs in the order of 14% of our GDP, which turns into many billion, many large number of US billion dollars. So this is a very serious problem because all our infrastructure, transport infrastructure is considered on golden quadrilateral of Indian Railways, which is connecting 4 metropolitan cities. And after 167 years of independence, from 1853, we are running the trains, and we are running all passenger trains, freight trains, Rajdhani trains, Gatiman at 160 kmph. But because of this mixed traffic and because of so much of traffic which is coming up, our average speed is poor, our punctuality is poor. So this was a very, very serious problem. So that was the reason that Ministry of Railway has decided sometimes in 2007 to create a dedicated freight corridor so that we can segregate freight traffic and the passenger traffic so that both can improve. So that is how in 2007-8, Eastern and Western dedicated freight corridor came into being. Western corridor is from Dadri, that is New Delhi, to JNPT Mumbai, which is about 1500 kilometers long. And the Eastern corridor starts from Ludhiana in Punjab and goes right up to Dankuni in West Bengal. So these two corridors put together is about 3,300 kilometers. And I'm very happy to inform you that in last 2 years, we have done a lot of work. And we have commissioned about 500 kilometers of section out of 2,800 kilometers. And we have started running the train. And North Central Railway, everybody knows that the section from Delhi to Allahabad is very congested. We are not able to run our passenger trains also punctually. There is a lot of improvement as far as punctuality is concerned. And the average speed of freight train has also increased. So there is a huge advantage on the Western corridor. We have completed the work from Rewari to Madar, that is Ajmer. We are running the train in a section of about 300 kilometers. And yes, definitely because of this COVID, we have suffered. On 24th of March, when the lockdown was declared, for the first 2 weeks, we could not do anything. We were just keeping our fingers crossed that how we'll do it. But somehow we did a lot of preparation before COVID. We had a feeling that the bad time is coming. So we started preparing ourselves for that. And as a result, in the last week of March and April, we could make the payments worth 2,500 crores to our major agencies like L&T, Tata Projects, and GMR, and Tata Storm, Hitachi, etc. That has really enabled them to keep the cash flow and carry on this work. Today, when Vice Chairman Niti Aayog was there at site, where a new track construction machine, which is a machine which links the track automatically, he saw the site and he's told the media, I think you will see it maybe in tomorrow's newspaper, that he was very happy and he was telling that in spite of this COVID problem, how you have handled this project is a great thing. And I think this project will definitely change it will transform the transportation scene in our country. And not only that, we are constructing this great infrastructure project. We are also developing a lot of business around it, because unless we spend 13 billion US dollars and we don't develop the traffic, it doesn't make sense. So we are developing a lot of multimodal logistic parks. We are giving connectivity to a lot of private sidings, thermal power plants, and direct connectivity to the ports. To start with, as soon as we connect Palanpur, which will be happening in next 5-6 months, all the major ports on the Western corridor, that is Mundra, Kandla, Pipavav, will get connected. And when we'll reach Bombay, and JNPT also will get connected. One very special feature I would like to tell you about the dedicated freight corridor. I hope I am not very long.
No, please.
because it should not be boring also. Is there no time limit?
No,
I
not
think
So the Western Corridor, there's a very special feature that because on the Western Corridor, all the traffic which will be coming from the ports will be containerized traffic. So we have planned the entire corridor with a double stack container traffic. Our trains will be 1.5 kilometer long. We can run 120 trains each way on these corridors at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. And we have designed this dedicated freight corridor in such a way that we can run 25-ton axle load. So every wagon will be weighing 100 tons. And there'll be 13,000 tons of load in one, which will be equivalent to 1,300 trucks. So one DFCC train will remove 1,300 trucks from the highways. You can just imagine that how environment friendly it will be, because it is very energy efficient also. So besides this, we have also planned to have a very, very lean organization, because not unlike Indian Railway, where we have 13 lakh employees. So our staff strength will be, as per the global standards, it will be a very, very lean organization and will be using all kind of digital technology to maintain our assets, so that we'll be a very lean organization. So, I mean, that is what I wanted to cover for DFCCIL. And one more thing is, I would like to add that VC Niti Aayog has said that once you are completing these two projects in, say, our target is, it was June 2021. Because of COVID, there'll be some delays, but we are very sure, we are very confident that by 2022, we will be able to complete all the entire corridors of 2,800 kilometers. One more thing I want to add here, that beyond Sonnagar toward Dhankuni, Sonnagar to Dhankuni is about 532 kilometers. So we have, this project has been planned to be taken under PPP, where some private partnership will be there. And we have made it in two phases, Sonnagar to Gomo, which is very close to Kodarma, which is a big belt of the central coal fields. So we are expecting a traffic of 65 to 70 rakes per day from that area. So all our papers are ready for PPP, and it is my request through FICCI also that we are getting a lot of inquiries about this project, and I'm sure that maybe by October 2020 our RFQ will be out, and this is going to be a beautiful, very good PPP project. It's a very safe model. Only construction risk has been given to the concessioner. Concession period will be 5 years, and after that, a fixed annuity will be paid to the concessioner. That will be in the order of 2,000 crores per annum for 15 years. So you can imagine that you spend 9,000 crores, and for 15 years you get this kind of return from that project. Internal IRR is 18% of this project. One more thing I want to tell you, that how this project has affected the economy of our country. So I can say that this project worth 80,000 crore has created large number of employment in our country. Large number of industries are depending, because we are doing millions of cubic meter of earthwork, concreting, the rail linking, etc. So there's a huge impact on the construction industry. And after that, when we will start our operation, then logistic industries will come into picture, because as per the some estimates, we'll be carrying about 160 million tons traffic on dedicated freight corridor in DFC and WDFC. And I think next 10 years, it will become 400 million tons. So at present, Indian Railway carries about 1,200 million tons. And I think next 20 years, will be DFCC on these two corridors will be carrying 1,200 million tons. So you can imagine the kind of traffic projection we are giving.
Sure.
And certainly our cost of operation will be less, cost of maintenance will be less. So there will be a lot of savings. And we have already planned that we will be allowing private players also to come with their own trains, and they can run their trains. So there'll be a non-discriminatory access to all the private players. Definitely, I think I'm told that Mr. BVN Rao has told that there should be a regulator for this. So that has also been discussed with Niti Aayog and Ministry of Railway, that there has to be a regulator so that they can provide the non-discriminatory kind of access.
Absolutely.
And
I
that
agree.
will only
Yeah.
increase the efficiency of the entire system. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you. I think that's beautifully summed up. I think in the huge project which you have embarked upon, I'm sure 10 or 7 minutes may not be doing enough justice to kind of put that through into context and do that. But here we hear you, 80,000 crore being spent, the ability to connect both the east and the west corridors, and many more dedicated freight corridors is also on the way. So this will become a hallmark for future developments. Just one more minute from your side, sir, because I know you're a bit hard pressed for time. It's a question which has come in from the audience. I thought I'll just take that initiative and ask you this. There is one on the this is on a particular tender they're talking about, on the digital tender which has come on the online monitoring of rolling stock. I think the bigger question is to help and enable Indian companies to participate in it, and make it more a level playing field. It says that the railway board has already done that, and they are expecting or hoping that DFCC can also follow suit. And probably I can ask the organizers to later on touch and give you the exact details of which tender that is being talked about. But I think the larger point is to help Indian companies bid in these digital tenders. Hoping to hear from you your thoughts on how you can enable that as well.
So first of all, I'd like to share with you that you must have heard that we have terminated the contract of a Chinese company around 450 crores to provide the systems. So I want to clarify here that we have not done this because of any sentiments of India-China relationship. We have done it in a very well thought manner because somehow the company was failing, and it was very much required that we should terminate this contract and go for a Indian kind of technology which is RDSO approved, so that we save on time, because in that case we don't go for factory acceptance tests, etc. A lot of issues are there. So I want to tell the stakeholder who has asked this question that after this, the problem of India and China, in fact, Ministry of Railway has taken certain measures and they have issued certain guidelines where we are promoting Make in India technology, and I can assure you that in our tender also, which has been given to RITES, in fact, we are talking to them, and we will definitely, maybe in pre-bid meeting or something like that, if we get some kind of suggestions, most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Moving on to get in Sandeep into the picture.
I will just intervene for a minute. Mr. Achal Khare has joined, and I think he's hard pressed with time. On request, he has come. So can we take him first?
Sure, absolutely.
And just one more minute to thank our sponsor, Patil Group, who has been very kind enough to make today's session happen. LS Patil is with us. We'll hear him later. But thank you, sir, for making today's session happen. And I give it back to Jagan.
Thank you. Thank you.
One request from my side, because I have a meeting with the Chief Commissioner of Railway Safety at 1 o'clock.
Right.
So at present it is, I have another half an hour. So, or maybe 15-20 minutes. So
perfect.
There from my side.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so it couldn't be more appropriate that we've got the MD of NHSRC, because we talked about one marquee project, which is the DFCCIL, and to top that is the high-speed rail corridor, which is there. So again, in terms of the opportunities which is there, the overall, if you can outlay what does this project hope to do, and what is the kind of investment opportunities which can be made available, and also from the passenger part of it, what are the benefits that it can accrue to the passenger, because there is a lot of thinking which is going on, that what's in it for the passenger with this whole high-speed rail corridor in context of the investment that is being made. Over to you, Mr. Kare.
Thank you, Mr. Jagan. I think the 2 points which you have raised is how the Indian industry is going to be benefited by this project, and what are the opportunities, or what is there for the passenger at large from this project. That's a question which, because we have not witnessed high speed in India, so that's a question which everybody has in mind.
Sure.
I think everybody knows that India's first high speed is being built between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, with the technical and financial assistance from Japan. So the entire technology is Shinkansen technology, and about 80% of the project cost, which is with full construction cost, is being funded by Japan at 0.1% interest rate to be paid in 50 years time. So I just wanted to put the context to the entire project. Now coming to the first part of it, that what are the opportunities available with Indian parties, Indian agencies. Directly when it comes to construction, there are total 25 construction packages which have been planned for executing this project. So these are various packages including signaling, telecom, electrical, civil works, viaduct, tunnel. So there are large amount of packages. Initially, when this planning was done way back in 2016, 15 packages were to be executed by Japanese and 10 packages were to be executed by Indians. I am happy to share with all of you, see, with constant discussion and assurance building measures amongst our Indian companies, we had to assure our partners, Japanese partners, that we have the capability. And now let me share with you that now Indians will execute 20 packages and only 5 packages are assigned to Japanese. So that's something quite a big. When it comes to in terms of cost, the project as of now is around 1,08,000 crore, and almost 70 to 75% of the project is now assigned to all Indian companies without any condition that you have to come in joint venture with Japanese partner or anything. It's pure Indian companies. And including some of you who are tracking this project, you see the tunnel, which is an undersea tunnel being built for the first time in India. Till recently, because of the complexities involved in this work, this contract was to be executed by Japanese. Now we have been able to convince and bring that confidence, and only a week back, even this contract is now open to Indian parties. So the undersea tunnel first time will be open to Indian companies. So that's the kind of opportunity we have. Further, this is as far as direct construction is concerned. Now I'm coming to further opportunities which are linked opportunities, which Indian industry, in any case they are there, so the opportunity exists for them, a lot of opportunity exists for them. I'll share some numbers with you. See, we would be needing around 75 lakh metric ton of cement. One project alone will consume around 75 lakh metric ton of cement in a period of 4.5 years. 21 lakh tons of reinforcement steel. So a big boost to our steel industry. 1.4 lakh metric ton of structural steel. We have a lot of steel bridges. So these are the industries which are already there. One project alone is going to give this much of boost to, and what could be the right time than now at this stage. Coming to the manufacturing, machine manufacturing industry, even though ours is a fully elevated project viaduct, but still we need around 50 lakh cubic meter of excavation. So our assessment is at a time we would be needing around 300 excavators, forklifts. So this is a call for the Indian machinery industry. Around 25,000 piles will be done. So around 280 piling rigs will be required by us. Further, we are introducing a new concept first time in India in construction sector, which is full span launching. You would have seen a lot of videos in YouTube. China has done it very effectively. Taiwan, when they did their high-speed construction, they did it very effectively. This machine is called full span launchers. So it has a carrier and a launcher. It's a lot of heavy tires. This carrier should be able to carry around 800 to 900 tons. So the benefit of this is you don't go on road. Whatever girders are already erected, you put this carrier over the already erected girder, put another girder which is to be launched in next span, take it, and then the launcher launches it. I really throw this challenge to all my industry partners who are here. I know before this pre-COVID, and my colleague Mr. Sachan mentioned about India-China relationship. Before that, all civil contractors were planning to procure this machine from China. I would urge that we need around 20 machines, and this is going to bring a total transformational change in construction industry, something which we witnessed when DMRC came first time. So my request is, why not develop this launcher and the carrier here in India? Why should we depend on China? And to give you some clue, you see our technical institutions, I have been there, IIT Madras, and they have set up a very beautiful knowledge park. That knowledge park is meant for taking up such projects. I visited there. They have developed 6-axis CNC machine in collaboration with IIT Madras. Government of India is supporting this institution. So why not take this project as a challenge and develop these launchers? So these are the opportunities
Absolutely.
which are available. Each one launcher, even if you buy from China,
Sure.
in our assessment would have costed around 50 to 60 crore rupees, maybe 70 crore rupees. 20 launchers means 1,400 crore rupees business straight away. And then ours is not the only project. The moment you start doing it in India. So these are the answers to your first question. I think I've taken a little bit of more time, but I thought let me give the overall perspective that what kind of opportunity exists with this project. Coming to the benefits which passengers are going to have, ultimately high speed is meant for passengers only. So quickly in 2 sentences, I would like to say, and then I will elaborate. First is, with high speed, the traveling will no longer remain traveling. It will convert into commuting. What you experience on metros today, we would like to give you the similar experience when you travel between Ahmedabad to Bombay. So it is commuting. 2 hours you are from Ahmedabad to Mumbai. So it is not the journey time alone. It is the availability also. I don't book ticket in metro. I go to the metro station and next 4 or 5 minutes I get the train and I go to the destination. Of course, we cannot offer you that frequency, but passengers will not bother for reservation when high speed comes. Every 20 to 30 minutes, you will have a train service, starting from 6 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock in the night. So if you decide suddenly that I have to go to Ahmedabad from Bombay, you go to the station and within 10-15 minutes, you will get a service to come to Ahmedabad or vice versa. So that is what we are trying to bring about, a total transformational change, total paradigm shift in the traveling. And that's why I use this word, traveling will become commuting. Second thing which is important for all of us know is high-speed stations are not going to be railway stations. So it's a pet sentence which I always use, is that high-speed railway stations are not going to be railway stations. They are actually going to become destinations. So I just would like to explain why I'm saying this, that it is becoming destination. It's not like that you get down and then you go to work. The basic concept of high speed, how Japan has developed, how other countries have developed is, the whole lot of transit-oriented development takes place.
Sure.
You get all the facilities in and around a high-speed station. You need hospital, you need a school, you need residences, you need shopping mall. Whatever you need as a society is available to you in a circle of 1.5 to 2 kilometers. But then it comes with a rider. Transit-oriented development doesn't take place in just 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. We have shared, Japanese colleagues have shared their experiences with us. The full transit-oriented development in a radius of 2 kilometers or so takes about 20 years. So the first level of development, which is around high-speed station, say 100 meter or 150 meter, we will do ourselves, which means intermodal connectivity, parking, taxis, interstate bus facilities, all those things we would like to create facility now with the opening. But other facilities like, as I said, shopping, school, and other things, some small shopping will be available, but on a larger scale, including residential, will take 10 to 20 years. I would just like to explain you one example how station
Yeah,
becomes a
so
destination.
I think we got the context in terms of, so what you're saying is it's an integrated development
That's
with
right.
with an absolute, just not as a station to be seen, but both social and pleasure and also work getting completely integrated into it. In fact, I was seeing one of the interaction of Mr. Of our Honorable Prime Minister with Niti Aayog, where he was mentioning about walk to work should be the way that we should be looking at development. I think in your context, that's the kind of vision that you are looking at.
That's
People can virtually be available, and then the whole development happens, and then the movement happens. So
that's
thanks a
right.
lot, and we'll surely come back to you in this part of it. I'm quite conscious with the MD DFCCL leaving in about 10 minutes. Just one question to you, sir, for 2 minutes, and then probably we'll let you go from there and be there, and we can move into Sandeep just after that. The important question is in terms of the fair pricing for the freight, which is going to be there in the DFCCIL. So, is there any thoughts that you're having? I'm sure there is a lot of thought, but today the freight is kind of cross subsidizing the passenger, and this is a big need which is there from the industry because the transportation cost was talked about, and you yourself mentioned that whole 14% is there, and hence there is need to be there, and the order of magnitude in which it is getting cross subsidized is 2x 3x. So it may not be a 20% 30% reduction. A fair amount of reduction in the overall freight has to be there. So what are the things which are happening in that context? Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So first of all, I like to tell you that our operating cost, operation and maintenance cost in DFCCIL will be very, very less if you compare to the operating cost in from Indian Railways. Our cost will be something around 50% of Indian Railway costs. And when we are creating infrastructure, a line capacity to run 120 trains each way, I don't think that Indian Railway will be able to give us so many trains. So we will definitely allow private players also to come on the basis of non-discriminatory access. And we are talking to Ministry of Railway to give us complete freedom to decide the freight rates when the origin and destination in our system. Say, for example, if we take some load at JNPT Mumbai and we take it to Dadri because this is our own section, so we should have full freedom in giving us to decide what will be the freight charges. So I'm sure that with 50% of the cost of operation and with so much of capacity available, I'm sure we will like to use the entire capacity which we have created. So this will definitely bring down the cost. And this, whatever saving is there, something will be definitely will be transferred to the stakeholders. And that is how we can think of some modal shift from road to railway. Otherwise, who will come to us if it will be very costly? Thank you. Thank you. I think I've done.
I think we lost Jagan.
Okay.
Thank you, Sachin, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Sachin Sharma will continue to join, and his email has been shared, phone number. We will love to reply, and we will love to, because I have seen one question that somebody wants to set up a multimodal logistic park at Allahabad. Most welcome. In fact, this is a forum that is really helpful for us. We want more and more stakeholders to come, set up their MMLPs, make the sidings, make the manufacturing hub. I also want to tell you that, in fact, Dadri is coming up as a big manufacturing hub. It will be transport hub, it will be manufacturing hub. So if anybody is interested to do something around Dadri, maybe as a logistic player or maybe as a manufacturing, so it will be a great opportunity. And one more thing I will like to add here, the last point, that in Allahabad, no, not in Allahabad, sorry, in Banaras, we are providing connectivity to inland waterway. There is some ships are being planned to run from Haldia port to Banaras. And from Banaras, we are giving connectivity in the dedicated freight corridor so that anything which comes from, say, from Haldia port through Dhaka or Bangladesh, it can come directly up to Ludhiana through Eastern dedicated freight corridor. So that will be also a great opportunity.
Excellent.
So thank you very much. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thanks.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
Can I get
Yeah.
a question?
Thanks. Yeah. Sandeep,
Yeah.
sorry, you have been on wait for a bit.
No problem.
Apologies for that. We also have Mr. Patil. So I think it's quite an interesting discussion out here. Sandeep, in terms of you being the co-chairman for the FICCI on the railway part, also from the GE perspective, you have a wider responsibility. The current context of the pandemic has impacted the overall supply chain, which has happened, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to take, wear both hats and kind of talk about how has that impacted the railway equipment manufacturing part of the whole value chain, and how do you see what are the things that you are doing to cope up with this in kind of restoring the supply chain? Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jagan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So thank you, Jagan. Yes, as you said, these have been unprecedented times for supply chain teams, both from a global and a local supplier-based perspective. I think I would start by saying that on behalf of the rolling stock industry in India, we've made significant progress, and today we can confirm that we are able to localize and build some unique capabilities, both on the equipment side as well as at an overall solution level on the rolling stock. We have manufacturing capabilities for locomotives, passenger coaches, wagons. The component for these rolling stocks are also now locally available. And the intent of actually increasing the localization was not just from a cost competitiveness perspective, but I think it was more also from a serviceability and replacement of parts, as we will all agree that any rolling stock that we buy today has to run for about 30 to 35 years, and therefore becomes a very, very important aspect that we localize a significant part in India. Also, it is important to note that India is a strategic market, both in terms of growth and adoption of modern technology, and therefore a lot of manufacturers have built global capabilities here. In terms of to the question of how it is impacted, I would divide my response into two parts. One is from a global perspective, and other is from a local perspective. From a global perspective, I would say, as I said, while a significant part has been localized in India, there are some unique parts which continue to be imported from overseas. For example, if you were to look for a fuel pump and an engine, or filters, or displays, communication radio equipment, I think those capabilities are currently not available in India, and therefore there will have to be a dependency on these equipments moving forward. However, the teams and the manufacturers are exploring new opportunities and partnerships to bring locally these solutions. During this period, the sourcing teams have actually worked with the global suppliers, and I'm happy to state that there has been a strong response and commitment from global suppliers as well to meet the Indian Railways expectations, and we do see positive trends towards improvement of the situation. Just to share with you, currently over the last 2 to 3 months for our own project itself, we've now come back and are able to deliver the quarter-on-quarter deliveries that we were expected to meet. So definitely challenges are there, but we see a positive direction there. From a local perspective, I think one important piece which is important for me to bring out is in the earlier part of COVID, which was in April to May period, it was more of lockdowns of infrastructure facility. However, it has started to move towards lockdown of individuals. That is to say, it's moved from the impact has shifted from infrastructure facility to the individuals. That is to say, if a zone or a residential campus is sort of isolated, it becomes very difficult to get the resource into the infrastructure facilities, and hence The teams are working around uncertainties, and I'm sure moving forward in the next couple of weeks, we would see a positive trend even on the Indian suppliers, in which we should be able to deliver the commitments that we have for Indian Railways and Indian customers. That's in short what I wanted to say on this specific topic.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Sandeep. That's quite informative of what you talked about, and hopefully all of this will get resolved at least by the end of this year, and some kind of semblance will come into it. So to get in, Mr. Patil, sorry, sir, that you've been waiting on this, but what is the? I mean, you deal a lot in terms of the high tech components which is there, and from your perspective, what is the scope that you see for new entrants in the manufacturing of OHE components for railways? Because it's very specific, and you have a quite and wide experience in that. Can you throw light on that, please?
Sure, thank you, Jagan. Basically, there are few areas where I see emerging of opportunities. One is definitely with so much of electrification, which Mr. Trivedi also just mentioned. So one is the catenary wire. I'm sure the industry is aware of this. Then we have catenary poles. That's another very big area where the industry has a reasonably good scope. As far as national high speed is concerned, they have Mr. Khare sir has already identified and put this catenary poles on Make in India. So that's another very big opportunity I see in the equipments of for catenary. But above all this will be digital solutions. I think Mr. Trivedi ji really gave us an insight as to how the costs of electricity is going down for railways by electrifying the routes. So by adding the digital solutions to this, will further reduce cost and outrages and reduce the maintenance cost. I'm sure Mr. Trivedi sir will hear this, and Railway Board has already come up with a policy for digital solutions for electrification. I think this is one thing that they should further take up. And Indian industry is fully capable of giving these solutions now. In fact, we have developed these solutions, are offering to metros and to other railway operators. So I think these are the 3-4 areas as far as the manufacturing opportunity is concerned.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Thanks. I think that gives a part on. I think imbibing technology into the functioning of railways is very imperative, right? I think that's the way in which you can bring in efficiency and the overall development which is there. I'm just quite conscious of the time that we are there out here at 12:48 with about 12 to 15 minutes more. Can I just go around the panelists for your closing remarks and additional points that you would be wanting to talk about? Can we start with Mr. Rao and then move the chain? Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. I think when we all as a contributors to the GDP, I think the target or all our endeavors are towards how GDP can be increased, how we all can have opportunities to service the customer as well as the optimize the cost of operations. I think these are the takeaways I take there. If you see recent RBI governor's comment that to give fillip to the economy, a large infrastructure development projects are needed. I think railways are going to throw a large opportunity in this direction. When we heard whether Mr. Achal Khare, a lack of plus gross investment, employment, many materials. So it is a impulse create towards many other relevant industries like steel, everything. And Mr. DFCC MD also was mentioning about various opportunities, including private train operators. I think like sometime back, if we all see, first sometime back, almost the economy is in doldrums in early periods. This golden quadrangle of highways have given a fillip to the total economy, and we were roaring. India as a economy is like a destination during that period. It almost sustained more than 10 years. I think this railways is going to be one of the such opportunities in my opinion. But how best we model them? We have many learnings of privatization. We have many learnings of large scale projects. Sometimes, to attract investments, we are talking about guaranteed return and all. Maybe annuity models in the initial time is the best to attract so that the risk is mitigated. Once the business is known, because if you see railways has been, as I was hearing, 167 years it is in the public sector. So how to the service levels, yes, but business models is to be explored appropriately, because when public or government runs, their priorities, their target is different. But when it has to be an economic model, it should be different. So one is, I feel that annuity is a model which will attract many players. Once the sector opens, this is going to be there. I think this is one of, I feel that these freight corridors with the GST, it can be a great opportunity. Transportation, logistics are going to be there. GST regime, many hurdles are removed. It can be roll on, roll like DFCCM was mentioning. It will be connected port to the other destinations. It can be stretched to landlocked places also. If it is a trains, for example, it can be airports plus it can be connected with a 6 hours journey so that the landlocked places is. I think many avenues are there. This is my views. I think great opportunity, railways privatization or railways technology development is the service levels are going to be.
Excellent. Thank you. I think absolutely agree. I couldn't agree with you more on this. This is the time to go ahead and still make government should make more expenditure on this particular important infrastructure asset. Over to you, Mr. Arnendra Kumar. Your closing remarks. You're on mute, sir. If you can unmute yourself.
Oh, sir, railway is not new to privatization.
Yeah.
We were making steam locomotives. We were making steam loco parts. We were making, when ICF started, various parts of a passenger coach. And now the industry has taken over all these things, and the GDP and all those things and the industry has benefited. The challenge is now that how to imbibe technology and make it Atmanirbhar kind of thing, the Make in India context. And I suppose railway will be the prime mover in this area, because the government is very clear that anything for the future, you must be having a Make in India as per a particular schedule of the content. And Indian Railway will witness this kind of movement very fast. You have seen the electrification, we hardly import anything. Locomotives hardly import, very few items, bearings and things are imported, or grease or some special grease. Diesels, hardly anything, maybe crankshaft or something is handled. Now it is also Indian. So we will see a great movement of Atmanirbhar coming up by this privatization drive in which we are involving the industry. Only thing is that once you come to railways, don't lose heart so fast. It takes time to set right on your foot, and Christopher Columbus also made a mistake, so we all correct it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. You should come in for the long haul, right? Absolutely, well said. I couldn't agree with you more on that. So just to move ahead in terms of giving the closing remarks, can I have? I think Mr. Khare, you were hard pressed of time, so. But I really like the way that you had enlisted the various opportunities and the what HSRC does, a very minute point. So over to you, Mr. Khare, for your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jagan. I think I have already said what I wanted to say, except that I just wanted to share one more thing. Few of us know Mr. Patil is here. That not only the civil construction packages, see something which is unique to Shinkansen is system. And system, if I broadly classify, is track, electrical signaling, and rolling stock. Now, out of that, even track has been agreed to be done by the Indian contractors. So that is something very unique. It opens up an opportunity of about 14 to 15,000 crore rupees for the Indian contractors. And I just wanted to share, it is just not like that we will just leave you in the swimming pool and you push your legs and hands like that. We are going to set up a very elaborate training arrangement in collaboration with our Japanese partner. And we will not only train, in fact, it will be a mandatory certification of your employees before they are deputed to work on track side. And after their training is done, certification is done, for the complete period, an organization will be set up to give you handholding. Of course, all these things will be at a cost. But then the arrangements are being made so that we don't feel that nothing is there to help us out. So track is another area. And I would also like to share with you other things I think industry know, but then I would also like to share with you certain innovations which we need to do beyond this project. It may be a long-term thing, maybe 4 years, 5 years, but Ministry of Railways have already given us a job of preparing detailed project report of 7 more corridors. And maybe few more corridors may get sanctioned in the time to come. So it's a time for us, for the academic institutes and also for the industry. 3 of us have to join together to do innovation. We have already set up a trust, HSR Innovation Center Trust. 7 IITs are in our academic council, advisory council. With RTRI Japan, Railway Technical Research Institute Japan, which is the backbone of all researches in Japan. Entire Shinkansen has been developed by them. They are on our advisory council. Their president is on our advisory council. Tokyo University is on our advisory council. We have identified few projects. Already 2 projects are already taken off. So my suggestion is that please come up with the innovation thing, and so that in next corridor, we are able to come up with indigenous solution and reduce the cost of the work. India is a cost sensitive country. So that is one thing which I wanted to share with all of you. Let's join hand. I don't want to take much time to share the projects, what we are taking, that we can discuss something separately, whosoever is interested. But this is one area where we have tried to bring industry, the academic institutes, and we ourselves as a user to come along and then do this innovative works, innovative research projects to bring down the cost and make it economical for the country as a whole. Thank you very much, Mr. Jagan.
Yeah, excellent. I think that really sums up well. Innovation and partnership is an important and integral part of such large transformative projects. So good you brought that up in your concluding remarks. Can I get Mr. Trivedi into this conversation?
Just for the purpose of closing, I wanted to share one thing. This year we are because of the COVID, we are likely to lose about 30,000 crore rupees of revenues, which we normally would have earned through passenger operations. So to compensate for that, what we have decided to increase our freight revenues. And for that, we are going for a lot of private partnerships in the private freight terminals. In fact, we are on a drive to bring private partners who can manage our freight terminals at either end, including the for running the private parcel trains. In fact, we had experience of using, we had roped in Amazon to move their parcels from Bombay to Kolkata and some other trunk routes, because you see just what major achievement we have done in last few days during COVID days, that because of non-running of mail express trains and various other steps which we have taken, the speed of our goods train has gone up from average speed of 23 kilometers per hour to now it is around 50 kmph. So we are able to move the material in half the time, and this has really benefited industry. And particularly when the diesel prices are skyrocketing, the trains which are running mainly now on electric traction, the cost of transportation is going to be much lower compared to road sector. So industry will benefit by way of cheaper movement of goods, and also by sharing and becoming partners of railways in movement of this freight business. Thank
No,
you.
absolutely.
Sir, can I ask one question? Like, I think with the 30,000 crore thing which you mentioned, now will this have an impact on capital outlay, which FM has announced in the month of January at the time of budget?
No, you see, our one interesting part with the railways is that we have two components. Our one component is the which comes from the railway budget, which, as I said in this my remarks, we are going to compensate for the loss in the passenger sector by improved loading. So, in fact, we have gone on an overdrive, and just to share with you, in spite of this COVID, in last few days in July, we are loading freight more than last year. So we hope to compensate for the loss, passenger component loss, with our increased freight earnings this year.
Excellent.
So capital outlay will be
yeah,
maintained.
Mr. Vishal, I think
Capital, as I said, capital outlay is about 77,000 crore rupees through our conventional means, which is dependent on this our internal resources. And besides that, we have another 83,000 crore rupees, which is extra budgetary resources, as you call them, which is financed through loans from LIC, our IRFC, and so many other agencies. So we are making sure that, except for the projects, only change which we are making is that we are concentrating more on the projects which are giving us rate of return, rather than what the projects which we say socially desirable but economically not viable. But all the core projects will not lose any attention.
Sure, thank you. I think that's quite helpful. Sandeep, getting you onto the part.
Thank you, Jagan. I think from my perspective, I would say it's been very heartening to note on some of the investments which are being made in Indian Railways, high-speed network. I think it offers a great opportunity to all the rolling stock manufacturers to not only supply in India, but I think also create a global hub for manufacturing, sourcing, engineering capabilities, which can be leveraged to provide an alternative source for all the various countries across the globe. I think for me, that's a very, very important part. I completely agree with Mr. Rao that these opportunities which are coming up need to be evaluated both from a transparent and a fair model perspective, so that the risks are mitigated. And once that is done, I think we will see the success of these projects on the ground. And I think Marora and Madhepura projects have been talked a lot, but I think they're also shining examples of how a PPP model was executed within 4 years and has become a success story today.
Absolutely. I think that's quite an important point to note as well, that yes, it does function, is also a message that we need to give to the people, that you can make it happen, which is there. So that's great. I think
all this has been possible with the partnership. It's not just the industry which came forward. I think it's important that the partnership with Indian Railways, partnership with state governments really help succeed in the overall effort.
Absolutely. I hear you. Absolutely. So Tilak, I think you had a particular question to ask. Can we ask organizers?
Yes. Maybe two questions. And if Mr. Khare is still there, I would have loved to ask him, because he gave very insightful. Mr. Khare, as usual, you explained your vision so well, very graphically, in my opinion.
Thank you very much.
And I have a question. Is your heart is like a civil engineer, and you explained the machine so well. Do the rolling stock people have a chance to participate in this Shinkansen technology? Do signaling people have a chance? Do electrification people have a chance?
Yes, certainly. If I have 2 minutes, Mr. Jagan, because his question would require some detailed explanation.
I think about a couple of minutes and highlights, if you can just touch. I'm just conscious of time. Highlights, yes, good enough.
So coming to the question on rolling stock quickly, see, we have already have arrangement of technology transfer and make in India. We need to take 24 trains. Out of that, 6 trains as of now will be assembled in India. So don't take it assembly as assembly. There's a whole lot of things which is to be done even in assembly and testing. First time we'll be doing the air tightness testing of coaches in India. All high-speed coaches are going to be airtight, to be pressurized inside. When it comes to manufacturing, a lot of things are currently not being manufactured in India in rolling stock, like double skin aluminum body shell. propulsion system, bogie system. These things, both companies in Japan are open to do some kind of tie-up arrangement. As I know, they are already in dialogue with some of the Indian companies, but we do stand, and contractually they are bound to do 6 train sets assembly here in India, testing, everything to be done here in Indian premises. So this is as far as rolling stock is concerned. Coming to electrical, Mr. Patil already shared that we have put a list of electrical items. And let me share with you, except the cantilevers and some minor parts, Scott connection, everything, even though the contractor will be Japanese, everything will be made in India, including the transformers. So 60 MV, 80 MV transformer, all will be made in India. Coming to the signaling, this is a challenge to the Indian industry. In fact, what we are getting from Japan is currently not manufactured in India. Gas-filled cables, LCX cables. Now, all these things are not being manufactured in India. We are open to guide you, to help you out. How do we do it for future projects in India as far as signaling is concerned? Thank you.
I think thanks a lot. I think detailed explanation. Really appreciate that. Mr. Patil, your views on the concluding remarks.
From an industry perspective, sir, it is very heartening to hear from Khare sir and Mr. Sachan sir that the Atmanirbhar objective of the industry, I am sure with both their leadership we can achieve. And let me assure you from the industry side that we are fully geared up. And this is something that the Indian industry has been waiting for a long time, and it will be delivered. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your very valuable.
I really appreciate all the participants giving their detailed inputs. I hope all of the participants would have benefited immensely from this. Over to you, Nirja, to take this forward. You're on mute, Nirja. Sorry.
Sorry. A very positive session. It's not all doom and gloom. There is a silver lining, and there's a lot of lining I can see. To conclude the session, I invite my office bearer, Mr. Sandeep Selo, to please deliver the concluding remarks and word of thanks. Sandeep, over to you.
Thank you, Nirja. I would start with saying that it's been an absolute pleasure to have esteemed guests from Indian Railways, the FCC industry on this particular session. We've had some very insightful discussions which will define the future of rail transportation in the country and will also help position India as a global manufacturing hub. I would like to thank Shri Trivedi Saab, Sachan Saab, Khare Saab, Mr. Sharma from the FCC, Shri Rao, and Shri Arvind Kumar for taking the time out for this important engagement and sharing your views very candidly. And personally to thank Jagan as well for moderating this excellent session and taking some candid questions with the guests. So thank you very much for supporting and making this session a success. Thank you for your active participation from all the industry leaders and taking the time out for this session. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir.
Nirja, you are on mute. Over to you, Nirja. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Any questions that we have not been able to take due to paucity of time, we have taken a note of it, and we will be writing to the respective speakers and getting you the response on that. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Thank you.
Nirja, can we have a copy of this recorded webinar?
The video. Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Thank you. Great session. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a great session.
Thank you so much. It was a great session. Thank you, Nirja-san.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nirja, for the nice session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirja.
Thank you. Thank you for joining, everybody. Welcome.